Hi there, Kaiser Soze 10. Let me just start off by saying I know it was you. Anyway, sorry. Love your screen name. I think it's really sad or kind of funny that you started off by being like, I'm so impressed that you give all of these personal things. And then I had to take a couple of weeks off because I was totally underwater with deadlines. And then also I have a cold, as you may be able to hear. So, oops, sorry about that. But anyway, so you start off by saying that you're 31 already, so you would be starting next year at 32. Does that sort of post-30 age really matter? Look, it has more to do, not so much with the chronological age of an applicant, but the number of years of post-collegiate work experience, which I think below you said something that you have 7, yeah, down here it says you have 7 years of work experience. So yes, it actually is harder, absolutely. And the number one reason is that a lot of the companies that come to recruit on campus, they want younger candidates. They want that fresh, energetic blood to come and work for their companies and frankly work themselves to death because that's what younger people are good at. And usually the older candidates, when they do graduate from business school, you know, they tend to be more set in their ways. They tend to not, you know, they're more likely, for example, to be married and have a family. And so if the managing director says, okay, you need to get on a plane at 3 a.m. and fly to Nebraska for a 7 a.m. meeting with a client, you know, you would be graduating at age 34. A 34-year-old is far less willing to be like, yippee, no problem, boss. I love this job, right? As opposed to, say, a 28-year-old. So that's sort of in a nutshell. I am overly simplifying it, and yet there's a really strong kernel of truth in what I just said. So one of the biggest reasons why it's hard to get into business school as an older candidate is not because the business schools themselves discriminate against older candidates. It's not because they're mean or because they're like, ha ha ha, we just don't like older people. It's nothing like that. It's just that in their experience, it can oftentimes be a lot harder for the older candidates to get the jobs that they want or to get the sorts of jobs that the Career Services Office is very skilled at placing people in. Moving on, it's good that you have identified that your 680 GMAT is on the low side. The quant is fine, but that verbal really does need to come up. So it's great that you know that you're from an overrepresented group. You know that you need to be trying to aim for at least a 740. So that's wonderful. Please just be studying every single day. I do have a blog post with my own weird GMAT tips. Take a look at it. I am not a GMAT tutoring expert, but I am a mindset expert. And so, you know, I've got a few tips in there for how to maybe get that score up. So the thing that's that made me go a little like, oh no, when I read your profile was that you said, well, it has to be one of the top 10. The reason I've been waiting is because it has to be a top 10 program. And the irony is that by having waited until you're at 7 years of experience, the irony is that you might have damaged your chances a little bit of getting into a very, very tippy-top program. So I hope that this was not a counterproductive strategy. You know, let's hope that you can retake that GMAT pretty soon and get it into the mid-700s. Now, it's a little bit hard for me to really jump in with like, oh, a very detailed profile evaluation here, because the only thing I really know is this part here in yellow, right? This is the most important thing, aside from like the age and the GMAT. The most important thing is this idea that you work for a big multinational, you're in the IT department, financial services company. So I'm guessing that might be like a bank or like a payment service processing company like Visa, or it might even be something like a PayPal. So you're in IT, you've had 5 promotions in 7 years. So this is pretty huge. This is going to be, it's hard for me to get a sense of what your leadership profile is. However, you would not probably get 5 promotions in 7 years if you weren't pretty strong. So that is great news. It will really fall to your recommenders. You are going to want to ask your recommenders to really, really brag on your behalf. You cannot brag. You are not allowed to say, you know, anywhere in your own application, oh, look at me, I'm so smart, I'm so good. 5 promotions in 7 years, boom, who's amazing? Me, Kaiser Soze 10. You are not allowed to talk that way about yourself because it's very off-putting. However, your recommenders can absolutely say things like, he is the best we have ever had. If you are working at a large financial services company, please try to find your resume twin as soon as possible. By that, I mean other people who have worked in IT for your business who have gone on to business school, or at least people in your industry who work in IT in the financial services industry. Try to find them, try to network with them, see where they ended up going to school. I think that's going to be really beneficial for you. Moving on to your career goals, I think product management or IT consulting are perfectly fine goals. You know, in terms of which schools you can target, you know, it's so hard. In terms of a 680, the sort of general, my very unscientific rule of thumb is just deduct 30 points and then look at schools that have that average, right? So I would be looking at schools that have an average GMAT of about 650, and then that should help you narrow that down. In terms of a 730 score, look, I don't have quite enough information. Again, like IT in a financial services company could easily describe what feels like 25% of the applicant pool. I don't think it is 25% of the applicant pool, but sometimes it feels like it, right? So, you know, you are on the older side, so I would look at the schools that are more open to older candidates. Off the top of my head, I would say that is Cornell. I would say if you have taken some of the coursework necessary for the Kellogg one-year MBA, they have clarified, I don't know if you're familiar with the Kellogg one-year MBA, it's a program that is open to people who have already taken some of the core coursework prior to enrolling. You can start enrolling in that coursework right now today. So look into Kellogg one-year MBA. Did I already say Cornell? I think I did. Even the Cornell Tech MBA might be an interesting one for you to look at in terms of your tech background, although I do have to, as soon as I said that out loud, I realized that, oh my gosh, but you look like everyone else in the applicant pool there, so that might be a trickier one. Basically, the entire application in your case, assuming that you get it up to 740 or whatever, your entire application hinges around 5 promotions in 7 years. It depends on how much stronger you are compared to your peers. What have other people, which schools have the other people from your company gone to, what if they've gone to US programs or Canadian programs or European programs? Use that as sort of your guidepost. And yeah, I mean, I can't tell from this if this is like, I'm a very obedient worker bee, or I got these promotions because I moved mountains. If it's because you moved mountains, you can aim a little bit higher. If it's I got 5 promotions because I'm obedient, that's great, but that's not the sort of leadership that some of the higher programs like to see. So other programs that just jump into mind while I'm here in my free association thing, UT Austin, I think is a pretty strong program. I would sort of look around those, again, assuming that you sort of have standards, solid but not moving mountains leadership. And I also think UT Austin, I mean, I went to visit them this summer. They have a brand new building that they just opened, and I know the building shouldn't matter, but what's more important is that the building symbolizes a new, sort of like a new focus for them in terms of entrepreneurship and tech. The city of Austin in Texas is an emerging tech hub. So the opportunities there are, I think, much greater than they are in other cities. So in case you're like, wow, she's recommending UT Austin, not really sure how I feel about that. It's more about, like, I don't just look at, like, okay, which school do I think you can get into, but I look at the holistic picture of, okay, when he or she graduates, what are those opportunities going to look like? And if you're in a city like Austin that has so many opportunities, then those post-MBA employment opportunities, by definition, go up quite a bit. So those are some of the schools I would look at. Yeah, I hope this has been useful. Thank you.